Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. Today we're going to be unboxing Discover Lands Unknown. This is a game of exploration and survival for 1 to 4 players. The game design is by Cory Koniziak, if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, and I'm probably not. So someone in the comments below can let me know how badly I butchered it, but I wanted you guys to see a full unboxing of this game, not only because I want to show you guys this as it is a solo playable game, but I have been super excited about this game for a number of reasons. The first and most major reason for this excitement, for me anyway, is that every single game created for Discover Lands Unknown is unique. That's right. So there's going to be unique contents only specific to your copy that if your friends were to pick up a copy of Discover Lands Unknown, they may not have. For instance, we may open this box and find something that has to do with the rainforest or a forest area. We may find something that has to do with a desert or a mountain region, a snowy region, something along those lines, or even maybe just a completely different island. So it's crazy, mind-boggling that every single box can be a different area. That's really cool, but even it goes beyond just the location. The uniqueness comes from the characters, the items, the quests, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot to really dig into with this one and a lot to truly discover, ironically. And I'm going to be doing that during this unboxing. Now, there's one thing I'm going to say first and foremost. Be aware that there's going to be minor spoilers here. If you're the type of person that wants to go into this game knowing absolutely nothing, then turn away now. The good thing about this is that what you see inside this unboxing right now for Discover Lands Unknown is going to be truly unique to me. So some things you may get in your copy that look similar or come close to being similar, but they'll never be exactly the same. So that's what's really, really cool. So you're not necessarily spoiling anything, unless of course I'm focusing a lot on the cards. And I'm going to divvy this unboxing into 2 sections. The first section is going to be called the minor spoilers section, where I'm going to take the wrapping off this box, show you exactly what's inside, but not unpackage any of the cards. Then I'm going to move into a major spoilers section of the video where we're going to actually rip open the packs of cards, and at that point you're going to be seeing some stuff that you may or may not want to see, and at that point you can jump out if you'd rather not. What we're going to do to even amp this up even further is I've gone ahead and picked up a second copy of Discover Lands Unknown. I know, I'm insane, but I really wanted to see and be able to show you guys the true difference between looking at one copy versus another. So you're going to see minor spoilers from both and major spoilers from both, and you'll be able to gauge for yourself whether this is something that potentially you might be interested in diving into, knowing full well that whatever you pick up will not be the same as what you're seeing in this unboxing. So this had to be done. This overview made a lot of sense to do. I typically try to avoid this during my unboxings, but this one really needed it going into it so that there's a general understanding of the uniqueness of what you're going to find here in Discover Lands Unknown. So we're going to go through the first box. I'm going to go ahead and take the wrapping off, and we're going to unbox this thing together. And just like that, we've got the wrap off of the game box, and to my surprise, there's actually some UV spotting on the front of the box that I didn't actually realize when the wrap was on, so that's pretty cool. So first off, I'm going to show you guys the front cover here. I'll just angle it up so you can actually see that reflection in the game box. You'll see there's certain parts of the box that reflect, and I don't know if I'll be able to hit it just right, but there is reflections on different parts. It's a glossy box, and the artwork is really, really nice. It may or may not be picking up perfectly on camera. I'm going to show you the sides, so depending on whatever side you'd like to show on your shelf, you've got this side here, this side here, so that's really cool. Again, say for instance you happen to unbox this and it's mainly an island type area that you'll be adventuring in, then you're going to want to go ahead and maybe show the island side of the box. But it's cool that they've gone ahead and put all the different landscapes across the box. That's interesting. We'll flip this thing over on its back so I can show you the last piece of the box, and that's the exterior on the back. So the back of the box has some words that we'd like to go through, a description of the game, and a little bit of UV spotting happening here as well, as you can see, if I can make that reflect just perfectly, just barely. So we're going to go ahead and zoom in on this and take a read. Discover lands unknown. You awaken with a splitting headache and no idea of how you got here. The wilderness stretches in every direction and something howls in the distance. Your quest for answers will have to wait. First, you will need to survive. Will you help the others that are stranded here, or will you save yourself at any cost? So again, this game is cooperative as well as leading into a competitive game near the end of the final main story quest inside of the game. So from what my understanding is, there is a cooperative element all the way up until the very, very end. And I believe it can be played competitively at that point. Now, I haven't dug enough into it to know what that truly is yet, but I do know that in terms of it being a solo game, the game is totally playable solo throughout. So that's awesome. You'll be able to go ahead and go it on your own to see whether or not you can survive the wilderness. And that's one of the coolest things about this. It gives me that vibe of Seventh Continent, but maybe with a little less setup time and a little less size and stuff like that. So maybe something that's a little more digestible on a nightly basis versus something that you leave on your table for many nights in a row. So this is going to be really cool, but I'm going to go ahead here and we're just going to pan down to the second section of the box and cover that. Every copy of Discover Lands Unknown is unlike any other in the world. A mix of environments, storylines, characters, locations, items, and enemies have been engineered to tell a story unique to this copy of the game. What unknown secrets lie within? You're going to be able to explore 2 environments of a possible 6. So now you know that I was even mentioning just 4 at the beginning, but there's actually 6 different locations. A wide range of different items, sets, enemies, storylines to combine to make your copy unique. That's cool. And you can play as 12 characters of a possible 36, each with different strengths and abilities. That's also very cool. So again, the uniqueness is built in from the get-go. One of the major things to mention with this game before I crack the lid is that when you have multiple copies of this game, if you choose to purchase more than one, and I'd advise if you're interested in the game and wanted to buy one, just go with one to start. But if you ever want to get another, realize that the game actually in the rulebook states that you shouldn't or refrain from actually combining components from one Discover Lands Unknown copy to another. It may sound like something you're able to do, crisscrossing things over, but they're legitimately made unique to the copy that they're currently sitting in, so you shouldn't be moving components or merging them together. So we've talked enough. I think it's time to crack it open. I'm sure the excitement has mounted, so let's do this. All right, we're going to take the box off my copy of Discover Lands Unknown. What are we going to find inside? Who knows? It's completely unique, which is awesome. All right, so I'm just going to move this box a little bit further down. That is great. Of course, what you get with a Fantasy Flight production always is you get their pamphlet here, which is going to be generic in all the boxes because it's going to show all the amazing games they have, and they actually do have quite a catalog of games. If you're definitely a solo player and you want to get into a particular publisher's line of games, they have a ton of great solo options from Fantasy Flight, so never a bad thing to take a look through that catalog. If you're already familiar with Fantasy Flight, you're going to jump right past that very quickly. So here we go. We've got 2 books here in front of us. The first one here is the rule book. So it looks very much like the front cover. The coolest thing about this rule book, and I saw this online today, the rulebook comes in at a very, very modest and concise 16 pages, and we're talking that's including credits as well. So you're talking a rulebook that you could sit down, read, and get onto the table in a game night very, very quickly. I read this on my lunch break today because I was so excited to actually check it out and get a little bit more familiar with the game itself. And it literally took me about 20 minutes to read through this, although I read quite quickly, might have been 15, 20 minutes, and I glazed over it for the most part, but it's not a long read. So that's one of the major pluses for me is if you're looking for a game that you can do in a night, you might be able to get by teaching this one quickly and getting right into the gameplay, which is exciting. So there's the rule book, and next up here we have, oh, did I get the island? Oh, these are so cool. Okay, so it looks like in my copy of Discover Lands Unknown, I've got the Island Terrain Reference Sheet, scenarios 1, 2, and 5. That's super cool. I love the idea of being stranded on an island, so this was probably one that I was hoping to get, and I'm definitely happy with that. So this is a reference sheet on the very back. It's going to talk about all the different areas inside of this particular map, so, or these tiles. So, you know, beach, grass, underbrush. These are basically going to talk about the stamina costs that it costs you to actually move into these particular types of locations within this type of island. And there's all kinds of other actions and frequently overlooked rules and some good content here on this reference sheet to take a look at. So there's all kinds of really cool little actions that you can do on this reference sheet. So it says, like, you know, move and gather. And these are all things that cost stamina. So move and gather, scouting, investigating, crafting, trading, cooking meat, starting the fire up if it's gone out, recovering, and loot. All these different actions that you can do. Some overlooked rules, some combat steps. Good reference sheet. Depending on which one you're playing, you'll keep this nearby. So if I'm going to go ahead with that, and of course it actually opens up on the inside to show you a little bit more about how to set up the game. The island map setup, where you start your double-sided island tile. So that's how you know which one is your starting tile. It has artwork on both sides. You got some text here explaining, and also some pictures showing you all the different decks. So you got the exploration cards, enemy cards, crafted item cards, project deck cards, and then down here is the threat blue deck. So that's pretty cool. So you know right off the bat when you open up the box what type of locations you're going to get based on these reference sheets. So this is actually a really cool combination. Islands and the bayou terrain sounds fantastic. So I'm super pumped about that. So this one here, of course, I already mentioned it, is the bayou. So this will have a little bit of a different differences on the back. You can see there's actually quite a bit difference in the terrain spaces themselves. There was 5 with the island. Here there's just grass, swamp, and the brackish water. I want to say blackish water, but it's brackish water. Again, all the actions here, good resource, and of course the resource tokens involved. These look to be the exact same as what was on the other one. This is a good general guide. And then boom, you can see that the map setup actually for the bayou is different. That landscape is completely different than what you saw in terms of the layout for the island. You got some different, also some different survivors, I guess I'll call them at this point, because I'm not too familiar with them. And of course you got some decks here. So one thing I'm noticing right off the top here is there's another deck on this one that wasn't in the other one. I'm noticing right here the Advanced Project Deck Red. So that's cool. So I'm not 100% sure what the differences are with that red deck or not. And I do apologize for the glare. The glare is hitting that at a terrible angle. But it is very cool to see the differences across the two. So we'll move past those two documents and move into the components themselves. All right, much easier to actually see these now with the wrap off of them. So I'm going to give you guys a nice close-up of each of these so you can see them in true color without any gloss whatsoever going on here. So here's some of the tokens. Obviously, each player has its own color, so that's pretty cool. I'm going to have to go ahead and assemble these. There's the first player token. I'm sure if you had a cooler first player token, and most people probably do, you could probably pass that around instead, maybe something more thematic, but that's pretty cool. I believe it's called a tribe token or a first tribe token, something like that. You're basically the leader of the survivors if you're playing with more than one person. If you're playing solo, you're always going to be holding that thing. You got a compass here with different dice values on it, which also determine where the monsters retreat to on particular rolls, all that kind of stuff. Very interesting. And I believe these are damage markers, if I'm not mistaken. So moving on to the actual boards now, there's no more sheen on these things. You guys can actually see what's going on. So again, this is going into minor spoiler territories because you're starting to see some of the things that are unique to my copy on the game board. So you can see there's certain items here, or places here. You know, there's a car here that's gone underwater, for instance, in a location. All these different things can be explored. You've got what looks to be a building off here in the bayou as well. So a whole bunch of different things. You got some tokens that I'm not familiar with, but these ones down here I'll consider feature tokens, I believe. And if I'm not mistaken, these feature tokens will allow you to search them, and they're not always viewable. Like, you don't know what you're going to actually get here across the bottom. So these are really interesting. And again, this is all kind of in the minor spoilers category for me, because yes, it's a spoiler more so for me than it is for you, because I'm looking at this stuff. The game and the rule book actually advises you to go ahead and punch out everything. You're not going to be able to avoid looking at the tiles, so you're not spoiling the game by unboxing the game yourself. But once you get to the card decks, it then starts telling you to not look through them. So that's where, when we get to the cards, I'm going to move into a major spoiler section, which I'm going to be spoiling the game for myself just a little bit by kind of ripping through those, but I'm going to be doing my best to not really focus on them. I'm just going to basically ruffle through them very quickly so you guys can see what they look like. And then I'm going to pretend and forget everything I saw about them and play the game. So you've got all kinds of different locations on these boards. So you can see here we've got like different houses and stuff like this you can visit. There's like oh, that's crazy. There's like a dock. So you got all these little symbols on them for resources and stuff like that you can gain. There's water right here. Of course, you find water. That's good. And water is one of the resources you need to keep track of. So here's another one. More of these bridges. Some of them have lights on them. It's a bayou, so it makes sense. Pretty cool. Oh, look at that. You got ourselves a medical tent there. So, again, all different and something you're not supposed to merge together. But you can see here we're moving into the island one, which is I'm really excited for. So I'm going to go ahead and tear into these. We'll show you them really quick, and we'll move right along. Now it's time to get a deeper look into the island location that I have access to in this copy. So you can see we've got ourselves the wonderful beachfront here. We've got ourselves some cool locations. Again, I'm not going to be able to specify what they actually are. Some of these are going to be upside down, so that's my mistake. I'm going to have to kind of rotate them as they make sense to do. Lots of stuff to explore there. A bunch of tokens, some feature tokens in the middle there. Lots of things I don't understand just yet. This is the back side, so you can see that this is definitely the starting location on the beach. Next up, we got another one here with some rocks as well as some water here. Different areas to explore. That's pretty cool. So you'll see there's actually numbers on these, and these represent different things that you can potentially find, and when you find them, you pull cards for them. We got some, oh, that's cool. So there looks like there's a shipwreck out there you can travel out to. That's pretty awesome. I think the island one's going to be really cool. Now, what I'm going to ask you guys to do is, as you're watching this, you know that I have the Bayou one now, and you know that I have the Island one. When I open up the second box, what I want from you guys is I want you guys to let me know in the comments below when I do a showcase for this, which I will be doing a playthrough. I want to know which location would you prefer to see. We can do the Bayou, we could do the Island, and once we crack open the second copy, we may get additional locations to choose from. So get your answers ready and fire them in the comments, because I'd love to know what you guys think we should do. And it'd also be really fun to kind of merge our brains together and try to see if we can survive whatever nastiness the island has for us. You can see all the tokens specific to the island scenario here. Now, right before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and show you the generic stuff that's okay to show you, which is just the dice and some of the representations for the characters. So these are safe. There's no worry here about spoiling anything. So, of course, you got a bunch of these black things that are going to go basically into every one of the dials in the game. You're going to be rolling the red, these D12s. You're going to be rolling the red one and the gray one. The red's going to be used for the, essentially when you're combating or attacking a monster. The red's going to be for the monster, and the gray is going to be for you. And you'll be rolling them simultaneously, and then you'll also be able to use modifiers to adjust them. You might be able to use items to boost them, all that kind of stuff. So it's a really cool mechanic where it becomes one roll, and then use whatever you have to try to make that roll work. Or you may potentially have re-rolls, which will allow you to re-roll a second time, that type of thing. So I did like that when I was going through the rulebook. I did enjoy the fact that it seemed like they made the combat kind of an all-in-one solution, where you're not going to be rolling 70 dice in order to determine whether or not you've killed something. They've got an interesting system there to deal with attacks and coming from any monsters or anything you find when you're out discovering the lands unknown. So that's this pack. So at this point in time, we're going to now open up some unique card packs, and I am literally going to rip through these at a fast pace, but you can see here that there's a lot, and they're all QR coded. Every single pack in this game has a QR code for it, showing that these are unique to this copy and they will not be found in another copy. So that's really cool. So without further ado, major spoilers ahead. We're going to crack into these. I'll show you some of the cards up close. Okay, so here is some of the characters for those of you that stuck around. We've got a police officer, so this is one of the characters I can be. We've got this guy here, a lumberjack, Biff. Pretty cool. Seems like the kind of guy that would survive well out in the wilderness. Pima G, if I'm saying, or yeah, I hope I'm saying that correctly. A monk. Nelson Color, and he's a fisherman. That's kind of a handy thing to be good at. Harmony Morello, I think I'll go with that. She's an heiress. So that's pretty cool. And then, nice, we got a mobster, Ethan Henson. Okay, so Ethan. All right, so there is my 6 for this particular copy, but there is 6 more, so don't worry, there's more to come. in this pack right here. All right, so the other pack of character cards, I've got Felicia here. We've got Fernando Toro, the Explorer. Loretta James, the Postal Worker. Alex the Shadow, an Agent. That's cool. Anna Kiram, the Painter. I'm going to definitely butcher that name. Maski Satamari. I'm going to, totally destroyed it. Sushi Chef. Felicia. Nice. And Ecologist. Wow, I cannot talk today for the life of me. So these are my 6 characters here. So it makes up a total of 12 characters unique to this particular copy. Now what we're going to do is we're going to break into some of these card decks and take a look at just what they look like quickly. I'm not going to focus on any of the card decks for long periods of time because I don't want to spoil this for myself. So I'm going to be sifting through this at a quick pace, but to give you an idea of what the front and backs look like of these decks. The first deck we're going to look at is this one right here. So I'm going to take off the wrapper and we'll take a closer look at it. Alright, so remember, major spoilers coming here, and of course even spoilers for me, but if you do not want to see stuff that's specific to the content of the game, bail now. So again, I'm not going to be showing these for long periods of time because I don't want to ruin this for myself, so I'm just going to sift through this very quickly, and then for those of you that are just interested because you've never heard of the game and you just want to see something about it, see what the cards look like, this is your chance to kind of see it. I'm literally not reading a thing. I'm just going to whip through all of these. There's some of these where there's duplicates, where it seems to make sense that there's duplicates. But all these things, I have no idea in what form they will show up during the game. But I wanted to give you an idea as to what the artwork looks like and some of the text on these cards. So you've got all these cards here that are now moving into something totally different, maybe specific to different character powers. You got reference cards, that's handy. We flip these over on the back, I'll give you an idea of what the backs look like on the cards. They're all very colorful and nice. The reference cards look like that. You got these ones. These ones look like per player, so maybe each player has these particular abilities unlockable. And you've got all these cards with numbers on them, of course, so during the game you're going to be referencing all these numbers. And there's multiple of each one, so there's that. There's a whole system, I think, inside of the game, if I'm not mistaken, where you can create the exact same item, but there might be differences between each one of them, if I'm not mistaken. So I believe that's the numbering to also help you reference which cards to pull out based on what cards they tell you to pull out. So, okay, we got a whole bunch of other decks here to rip through quickly, so let's do that. This doesn't probably need to be cut away for because these packs are relatively fast to open. So I'm just going to tear one open and we're going to look at this next one here. So this one here looks like it's talking about maybe locations on the map itself. So we got all these different items that are going to... So you can see there's very, very unique things in here. So again, things that I'm going to probably run into while I'm going through my adventure and stuff like this. But normally, like it says in the manual, because you're in the major spoiler section of this video, it says not to look at them and not to, spend your time reading them. The point is to, adventure and find them. That's kind of the key. But I did want to show them for the people that are considering whether or not this is a game they want to purchase. So thought it would be useful to show you guys the different decks here. So here's another deck. This one here is a very similar one to the other one we just did. So again, another deck of cards and stuff like that. Different things you're going to see throughout it. So you can see those are actually different already. I'm actually recognizing different enemies and stuff like that than there was in the last deck. So backs of the cards, they're numbered. They have different symbols on them. Some represent things you're going to pull at night. That's pretty cool. You got numbered cards all the way through here. Awesome. This looks really exciting, by the way. I'm a little bit in shock at the uniqueness of each of these games. Like, I think what's going to really blow me away here is when I open up the second copy and see just how different it is. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to get another copy, was because I wanted to truly see the real difference between the two different, two different boxes. I want to see, the different landscape or whatever it is that I end up getting. So here's another deck of cards. Again, I wish I could explain what these things are in relation to anything, but you're just going to have to bear with me. But I wanted to show you kind of the look and feel, also the artwork, and the quality of the cards and things like that, so you can get a good idea as to the different things that may pop up in your adventure. Of course, everything's going to be different for you. So that's pretty cool. A whole bunch more cards to add in. So it looks like they were almost separating these decks out chunk by chunk, pre-packaging them, and then QR coding them, and maybe that's what's keeping them unique. So that's a very interesting way of going about it for sure. So I'm keeping all the packaging right now because I'm not sure how important the QR codes are in terms of setting up a game. So I'm just keeping the packaging with each of the decks of cards that I open because I want to make sure that if it actually calls for them based on a QR code, which might be weird, it may not be how it actually works, that I have the packaging and the QR code handy. So every time I'm taking these packs, I'm keeping these QR codes that are tied to them right with them, because this is all new to me as well, and I want to be sure I don't mess anything up. Last small pack of cards, and then we move into the final pack, and then we get to the exciting reveal of the second box to see how close this really is to being completely different going into another copy. So again, another set of cards here to go through, so I'm just going to rip through these pretty fast so that you can see the different things. These ones look like they're specific to the Bayou, so that's the other thing too. I got to figure out which ones are going to be cards that go towards the Bayou versus the Island, and I'm sure maybe the QR codes is what tells me that. We'll find out soon enough though. Okay, that's that. And then the last thing here, we've got this deck right here, which is the major cards. So this is exciting. I'm not sure what to expect in this. So the backs of the cards are actually really, really nice looking. So if I can focus on that. They're really, really good quality. They look great. So that's pretty awesome. And the cards even that I already did with the mini cards looked fantastic. So again, these are going to be scenarios, different stages that I go through, all that kind of stuff. This is, of course, major spoiler territory. And this is the reason why I'm ripping through it at a relatively fast pace, because I won't remember a single thing I saw anyway. But hopefully this shows you guys roughly the types of cards you're going to get in the game. Cool. All right, so that covers that. And now we have actually fully unboxed one full Discover Lands Unknown copy. So what do you say we jump into a second one? All right, are you guys ready for round number 2 for Discover Lands Unknown? We are cracking open another box. So this is a completely different box of Discover Lands Unknown. So let's find out what's inside. Now with this one, I will not be going through the cards because we only need to see the cards, the backs of the cards the first time through. This one, I'm solely just going to show it for the terrain and things like that, because you guys aren't going to remember the cards that I went through anyway unless you paused and looked at every single one. This is more so to see whether we get differences in the terrain, differences maybe in the characters. I might look at those and maybe that's about it. So again, another one of these. For those of you that are familiar with them, first off the top, we got ourselves the rule book. So Discover Lands Unknown, the rule book. And oh my goodness, are you serious? We got the Bayou terrain reference sheet and the island. That's hilarious. So I ended up actually getting one that had the exact same terrain inside of it. But, oh well. So I guess what will end up happening is I'll probably, because I got the exact same terrain, this is actually going to be really interesting in a way, because I will be able to do a hard comparison between these two boxes in terms of the different terrain they're in. So that's actually, in a way, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of weird at the same time, but I do realize there's only 6 types of terrain in the game, so you are going to get times where you're going to see the same terrain come out. So let's take a look at the actual tiles themselves, because again, these are going to be unique. So everything here on these tiles should be different than what I see in these other boxes over here. And I'll be going through these myself here to check that out. There's no point in unwrapping them during this. I wanted to see whether or not I potentially got lucky and got different terrain. So with this one, what I'm going to probably do is I'm either going to keep it and do a hard comparison of this versus the one I've already fully opened, or I'm going to try to pick up another copy and let this one go to somebody else and see if I can grab something with a different location in it the next time around. See, already, without actually ripping anything open, I'm already seeing characters I haven't seen before and stuff like that, so that's really, really cool. So there's packs of characters there in this one that are going to be unique. Pretty excited about this, and more so excited about how it plays and whether it's actually worth what I paid for it, and also the excitement that I felt when it was first announced is still there. So I'm really excited for that. It is a little sad that this happened to be exactly the same terrain. I was kind of hoping I'd get lucky. But at the end of the day, if I keep all this stuff sealed, I might be able to trade it with somebody who has different terrain, and maybe that'll work out pretty good too. Or I could do some massive test between the two games and see how much of a different experience I get between the two different islands. So either way, guys, hopefully this helped you understand a little bit more about the game Discover Lands Unknown. And it is very, very interesting. I'm really interested to see more about it. And again, let me know in the comments below, now that we know what I have the bayou and I have the island, where would you prefer a showcase to be on? I'm going to leave it up to you guys. It's going to be one of those two spots. So which do you prefer? I'll tell you right now, I'm kind of leaning towards the island. I think the island's just a cool theme. Bayou sounds cool too, but the island, it's an island, right? So as soon as I hear island, I just think Castaway, and I'm instantly excited by that. So anyway, thank you guys so much for your support as always. Hope you enjoyed the unboxing, and thank you for sticking around. This was a little bit different in that I had two copies and also did kind of minor and major spoilers throughout. So for those of you that saw things that you didn't want to see, hopefully I advised you well enough in advance to jump out of the video. And for those of you that saw stuff, I didn't do any damage to the game by showing you exactly what you may or may not receive and Discover Lands Unknown, as everything is truly unique. Thank you guys so much, and as always, keep on rolling solo.